What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Unscripted, where we have conversations that matter. Today's guest is Kelly Abanda with Life. She's a life and adventure coach, which is different, and the founder and CEO of Design Your Detour. Kelly, welcome. Welcome to #Unscripted. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Hi, well, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here and excited for the conversations we're going to have. I know we're going to get into some stuff that the listeners are going to be like, yes, wow. I needed to hear this today.
Yes.
So I can't wait for that. So yeah, like you said, my name's Kelly Abanda, and I have been on my own journey of designing my detour in life and intentionally creating a life that I want to live. Mm-hmm. And so now it's my role in life to help other people figure out how to do that too. And so I coach people through different seasons of their life and really come out of hiding and live the life that they want to live, instead of just doing all the things they should do, all the things that they have thought they were supposed to get done in life, or just kind of floating through life and taking opportunities as they come, instead of being like, you know what, this is what I want, I'm going to make it happen.
That's so awesome. And so in speaking with you a little bit earlier, you said that you were working a traditional 9-to-5, right? Because that's what we're taught to do. We're taught to go to school, go to college for some, take a trade, and then you work a 9-to-5. You have a successful business in a 9-to-5. But so many women and men get into this 9-to-5, and it's not fulfilling that purpose. It's not fulfilling that need for, I just need more in life. Or it's making them think, is this all that life has to offer me, right? So tell us how you stepped out of your 9-to-5 and you begin to design your detour, which, by the way, I absolutely love your name. To me, your name has a purpose to it. You know, like you purposely thought about that name to design your detour, because in life we all have detours. Yeah. So tell us how you transitioned out of that role. Like, where were you mindset-wise? Because today, guys, what we're trying to do is have you think about, do I really want to become a coach, and what that really looks like? Yes, it's wonderful to make up your own hours as an entrepreneur, but there's a whole lot that goes along with working for yourself, and not just working for yourself, but trying to get others to pay for your services, right? So you have to kind of show up and show out for them. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. So Kelly's going to go ahead and rewind this back a little bit. She's going to go back to the start of her entrepreneurship after working her 9-to-5, or what that looked like while she transitioned out of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said so many things that I think are relevant for so many people, which are like, is this really all that life is going to offer? Like, am I going to feel this way about my life every day when I wake up and go to the office? Right. Because I don't like it and I don't want to feel this way, but I feel almost hopeless or resigned that that's just what everybody does, right? We all know we hate Mondays. Right. So we're supposed to accept that. Right. And I was kind of in that space, and I had a great job living in Los Angeles, and great community of people, and had gotten a master's degree and was saving to buy a house and doing all the things that I thought I should be doing. Like, okay, what's the next thing for me to do? Okay, that. Okay, what's the next thing? Okay, that. Right. Never stopping to say, do I want that next thing?
Right,
really that next thing.
Or is that next thing going to fulfill me?
Yes, totally.
Right.
What is my purpose for going after that thing? Because if the purpose is like, it's just what I should do next, you'll never feel full fulfillment from that.
Absolutely.
Especially, listeners, and I know that you get this, like if you have any entrepreneurial spirit within you, unless you follow that somehow, you're always going to feel unsatisfied.
Right. So really quick, I always say you have to find what you're good at and what you enjoy doing, and somehow merge those two things together. If they're not completely merged together, if one is off balance, you are not going to be totally fulfilled and totally happy. You're always going to be searching for that one thing. Whether a lot of us, especially women, we find it in a relationship. We think that that's fulfilling, but we ain't even gonna get into that right now. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother topic right there.
About that.
Right. So, like so many people who want to leave their 9-to-5 to pursue, what was that straw that broke the camel's back for you that just made you say, I have to step out on faith and just do this?
Yeah. It was really about, so I think there were probably a lot of moments that I can't recall that led up to this, but like you
Mm-hmm.
said, this one moment where I just knew something was shifted is it wasn't actually about my job. It was about buying this house and
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the life that I was going to create. But the
Right.
reality would have been, if I would have bought a house at that point, I would have been stuck in that job because it was paying me well. So that's
Right.
how it correlated to my profession. And I was like,
Wow.
you know what, that's not actually what I want. I
Right.
don't
Because you
want
would be
that.
working to pay bills
Yes.
to afford this house that you would
Yes.
have, because everybody says that that is the American dream. I remember even going back and thinking, I don't want to be a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I didn't want the satisfaction of saying this is mine, because anything that I live in is mine. I'm paying bills on it, it's mine, whether I'm renting or buying it. But a lot of people think that that is the end all be all. That is the standard that America has set
Yeah.
forth. Not go pursue your dreams, not go be happy, not go help someone else in their life and in their journey. And sometimes that means that you're a little bit, all over the place just for that purpose. But like you said, you thought about the house. So you thought about what your bigger picture was going to look like,
Yeah.
that helped you make that decision. And I think that that's awesome. So tell us about that transition. Like, what did you do? How did you tell your boss? Because again, it's a great job, great paying money. So clearly you made a plan. So how long was that plan before? Because you had to save up money to leave.
Yeah. Well, I had been saving money for the house.
Okay.
So that was my savings. And so I actually didn't have a huge plan, but for me, I decided that what I really wanted was to quit my job so I could travel for a little bit. And so it leads into my journey into becoming a coach for sure. So what happened is I left the job. I got up the courage to leave that job. I made a plan to travel for 3 months. And then all these really magical things happened that I went from traveling for 3 months to traveling for the better part of 3 years,
Wow.
being in 26 countries, traveling around the world, all kinds of just really cool things that I could have never planned. I could have
Right.
never, sat at a desk and been like, I know exactly what's going to happen in 3 years.
Right.
These. No. So I have this phrase that I use a lot that's called magic, which is that thing, that spark that we all want to have happen. Magic only happens at the intersection of planning and leaping.
Mm. I want you to
So
say that again.
yeah, magic, that spark we really want, it only has the opportunity to happen at the intersection of planning and
Mm.
leaping.
Wow, that's good.
We can get so caught up. I was in that place of planning, like planning out my life. What should I do? What's it going to look like? But not taking any risk or leap toward the thing that my heart really wanted. And if you don't take some of that leap or that risk where you don't know what the outcome is going to be, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have, yes, there's a chance for negative things to happen, but
Right.
also that's the space where all those things you could never plan, that's where it's going
Absolutely.
to happen.
Absolutely. I know
So,
that.
yeah. And you've
That
seen it in your life, yeah?
Yeah, that's absolutely. There's things that I told you, in our pre-conversation that I'm currently doing things that I never thought. I just had one of the commissioners of the city. He was at an event that I was speaking at just this past week, and he was just like, "I want you to come in and say the same thing that you said about domestic abuse, but to men."
Mm,
So it's going to be a room full of men that he wants me to speak to because men are broken and things like that. So because this is for other coaches, or this is for somebody who really wants to be a coach, or someone who is a coach and is just, they're questioning whether or not this is really for them. Because I'm sorry, really coaching other people is not for the faint at heart.
yeah.
It's not. So you travel for the better half of 3 years. You got all of that out of your system, not out of your system, but you really
Yes.
can say you
Yeah.
enjoyed your life in those moments. What's the transition like now? How did you decide to become a life and adventure coach?
Yeah. So the adventure definitely came because of what I had just experienced, and
Okay.
because that is the opposite of how so many of us are living. We're
Mm-hmm.
mostly living in this rut, mundane. We're doing the same thing over and over again. And adventure is a way to think about, like, how do I hop out of that into excitement, fun, new, freedom, all of
Right.
those things. And so the way that what I would say is, first of all, I think if you are considering coaching, it's probably something that has been happening in your life in lots of ways, but you haven't yet gotten paid for it. And
Well,
I know,
let's tap into that a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to say what that looked like for me,
yes,
and then you tell me what that looked like for you.
yes,
So again, I was doing the same thing. I was helping people in their everyday life. Like I remember I worked with this woman who was married, and when we get together, women, we know we can talk about some things, and she was very vulnerable with me. I think I just had that spirit that just said, hey, you can come and confide in me, and I'm not going to share your business. As a coach, you have to be confidential. You cannot go out there and put your client's business out there. So I think that for her, she found that security within me, and then also helped her to rekindle that spark in her marriage. Now, as a coach, I wouldn't necessarily take your cell phone and text, your husband on behalf of you. But in that situation, I did, because I was tired of seeing her be unhappy. At that point, I had just gotten engaged, but I remember getting off of work years ago, being previously married, and like really upset that I had to go home, really upset that I had to go into an environment that I wasn't sure was going to be laughter, or was going to become an argument, or was going to be tension. And so for me, being a relationship and life coach, the relationship side for me comes a little bit first, but in my everyday life, I was always trying to help somebody just become a better person, all in all. Or if they said they wanted to do something, I would become their cheerleader. So like you said, that thing was deep down inside of me long before I even heard the word coach.
yeah.
Right? So what was that like for you? Like, what was that moment that you said, I'm not going to be a counselor, I'm not going to be a therapist, I'm not going to be a psychologist, that I'm going to be a coach? And why did you make that decision to become an actual coach?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I also relate to, previous experiences. I've always been the person, like people will meet me and tell me stuff and they'll be like, I don't know why I'm telling you this.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. You just like, so we have something in us that
Mm-hmm.
creates a safe space for people. So, if people are listening and you have that in you, you can create a safe space, then coaching may be a good fit for you, because you have
Right.
to create that for people. And then
Correct.
the other element is that I have this gift of being able to speak hard truths to people, to
Mm.
challenge them in ways that maybe not everybody can challenge them, but because they know they're so safe, they hear it. They actually
Right.
hear it and listen. And so that's the other part of coaching, is that you have to be willing to push people beyond where they're already comfortable. There's a reason they're going to come to you,
Right.
is because they're not figuring it out on their own, right?
Right.
Most of us can't. We need people to help. As a coach, you have to be able to have like tough conversations, ask tough questions in love, do them, with care and concern, but
Correct.
you're not just a cheerleader for people.
Right.
And so the reason I chose coaching over those other fields, there's a few things. Number one is just legality wise. Like I talk to people who are counselors, like trained counselors or psychologists, and they have to follow so many
Yes. Yes.
rules and regulations and procedures, and like they're working toward a diagnosis, and that just
Yeah.
is not what I want to do.
Right.
It's not what I want to be about. And so it's valuable. I'm not putting the profession down, but it was not a
They're in a
fit.
box.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct, because I actually became friends or associates with a therapist, and she was transitioning from that into coaching, because we're not as in a box. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of dig, and we can kind of push and pull, like you said, into those harder areas, because I always say, in order to go forward, sometimes you have to go backwards and deal with the things that you may not necessarily have wanted to deal with.
Yeah.
My first question to any new client is, what is your end all be all goal? So I want to know the end. I want to know what your end looks like for you. If you had your way today, what does that ending look like? And then I always work my way backwards from there.
Yeah.
I find out that, and then we start making steps, and we start making plans to get to that goal. And sometimes the goal, I don't want people to think that when they set up a coaching business, that it's just going to come very easy.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of mental work. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, mentally, I had to get out of my own head that my ability to help someone and my ability to productively push someone, I was good at doing. I had to get out of my own head that I didn't have the ability to do that. And that was, for me, was hard. And especially being a relationship coach. So my husband and I, we have a blended family. And that was a little bit rocky because we didn't live together before marriage. We dated long distance. So we literally lived together just at the wedding point, literally.
Yeah.
And after dating long distance, so as we're blending two families together, we dealt with the hurdles of discipline and the hurdles of, I like my house this way, you like your house that way. And it was so crazy because my husband and I, we don't argue, but we have these moments of tension where it's just like, something is wrong. And we got to address it. And I would always tell him, like, I don't want to be a fake coach. So in my mind, I had to get out of, how can I call myself a relationship coach when I'm having these other relationships that are not quite going the picture perfect way, right? Yeah. So in that, it wasn't about having a picture perfect relationship, whether it be coworkers, whether it be church members, whether it be friends. We all have these relationships, but it is about striving to be a better person, taking accountability for my own actions, taking accountability for how I treated people, how I responded to conflict. What did I do to help resolve the conflict? Did I use my words? Like all of these things that we go into training ourselves with in order to better help someone else. So once I got through that hurdle of saying, all right, girl, you got this, no matter what, other things may happen and this and that, you still have the ability to help someone else, right? So what is that? What is your mindset? What obstacles as a new coach, not years into it, coach, the brand new coach, bring us back to that time, Kelly, that, for these coaches that are listening to this today.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I don't think that we talk enough about the challenging side. And then what happens is somebody gets to that challenging part and you think that you're alone, like that other people didn't struggle with this. And it's not true because you can talk to, if anybody's honest with you, they're going to tell you they have struggles.
Oh, right, absolutely.
But I love what you were saying too about like, keeping that authenticity of being like, yeah, I'm not trying to put myself out like I have perfected relationships, right?
Right.
I have not perfected life or adventure.
Right.
But what I have done is learn some things along the way, and I am a better person now than I was before, and I'm ahead of some people, and I can help those people. Right. But when I think about the things I really struggled with, so one is that like almost like imposter syndrome. Like, do I really know enough? Do I have enough to help people? Right. And I knew I did, but I also was like, well, now that I'm actually going to start a business with this, can I charge people for this?
Right. And what can I charge them?
And what can I charge
right.
them? What I would say to a new coach is like, first of all, if you know that you're going to help people, you are offering a skill that's valuable. But try not to fight with yourself so much around the money, because I also have this really big belief, and I've seen it in my own journey of like, when I started, I was trying to charge too much and I wasn't in my soul ready for that. And so there was a dissonance. It wasn't a alignment between my soul and my inside and my outside. And so align your inside and your outside. And even if you have to start by like coaching some people for free and getting testimonials, like to get the practice and to gain confidence, start there. That's fine. And if you have to start, when you start charging, if you charge lower rates than you're going to charge later, that's okay. Like just start, but challenge yourself to keep moving that up, because the likelihood is you're going to charge way less than you're worth.
Oh yeah. I remember starting, like, honestly, my consultation fee right now, it used to be free. I just charge $25 literally right now for 30 minutes. And I do that because that way, at least I know you're taking this a little bit more seriously, right? Now, my actual fees, they're not crazy expensive because I feel like, what is 45 minutes worth? I see people charge hundreds of dollars for 45 minutes. And I'm like, a lot of times the people that I'm trying to connect with can't afford that.
Yeah.
They can't. And then I remember doing this rolling scale of fees, right? One of my questions on my questionnaire was, what budget did you set aside for your coaching sessions? Because in my mind, I go to the grocery store. I know that I cannot fill up my basket on $50 because in my mind, I'm walking in there with $50. That is all that I had. That worked for a little while. It does work, but I feel like people don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
So as a coach, as someone who is out there and trying to do it or has been doing it and it's not really going the way that it should be going, in your mind or in your, you know what you need to be able to move forward, maybe find other avenues to substitute some income so that you can continue to pursue your passion and your purpose until you get to that monetary level, that Kelly was talking about, where you can continuously increase it. For me, I began to do events. I started the podcast. Like, I started doing different things to help substitute income so that way I can still reach those people that can't necessarily afford hundreds of dollars for a coaching session but really need the help. Yeah. For me, I'm really big into my Christianity, and I remember telling God, like, God, I want to help people. And I remember saying, he did not say, go help somebody, but only if they can afford your services. Right. Mm-hmm. So I found myself doing services for free. I found myself creating templates and creating worksheets and creating my workbooks that I have, and specifically putting things in there for that client. I was spending countless hours in doing that. Again, like Kelly said, you have to know your worth. You do not overextend yourself where you leave yourself feeling depleted.
Yes.
Is that a fair assumption, Kelly? Like, is that, yeah. Did you ever get to a point where you felt like you were giving, and were beginning to deplete it yourself and didn't feel like you enjoyed what you were doing enough? And then how did you balance that?
Yeah, so I never thankfully got to that point, because I think I've learned some good boundaries along the way before I started coaching.
What were those boundaries?
Just like being able to say no when it doesn't work. And it's a really hard thing, because you get into coaching because you genuinely want to help people. And I would love to be able to help every person who needs the help. But the reality is I can't, and I have to be able to figure out, when it's a yes and when it's a no. And for me, a lot of times how I know it's a no is around how coachable somebody actually is.
Ooh, explain that. What does that look like?
So, what I'll do is just ask some questions. So my philosophy around coaching, every coach is a little different, but for me, I really believe my job is to pull out what's already on the inside of somebody and help to push them a little bit forward. I think most people actually have their answers already in them. They just need help, figuring out and trusting themselves to move forward. So I'll ask some questions, and I do that by asking a lot of questions. And listening a lot. And so even if I'm having a little conversation with somebody and I ask questions, if I sense a lot of resentment or anger, if I sense a lot of like I know a lot, I know it all.
Right. Then you have to walk away from it.
Yeah, I'm like,
some people, you can't help everybody. You can't
help everybody. But I do think to think about the question, it's not that I got burnt out because I was giving too much, but I definitely had times where it was like, I'm so undervaluing what I'm doing. I'm not able to create the life that I need to create.
Right.
And, that's also, my faith is an important thing to me too, but I don't think that God is like, hey,
be broke.
Be broke and, not be able to have your own life. And
right.
I'm not having extravagance, just even like living.
Right.
And so there is a journey you have to go through of recognizing like, my services are worth something. And so for me, how I've balanced that is that I put content out for free, like on Facebook and social media, that everybody has access to. And there are benefits there that everybody can get something from. It's not as rich as a one-on-one coaching session. Right. But there's something. So I can give something for free to everybody. You know,
That's
I can give
awesome.
free downloads. You can be on my email list. You can go to my Facebook page. You can go to, well, my YouTube channel is not robust yet, but it will be.
It will be, yes.
Yeah. And those are things I can do for the mass.
Right.
And
Right.
for the people who I'm working with one-on-one or in the group sessions that I do, those are the people who are ready and willing to make the investment, because that's the other piece I see is when I've done too many free things or very low cost things, sometimes people don't show up with their full heart,
Right.
because they don't have enough skin in the game, so to speak. And so that's a big deal. If I'm showing up and I'm giving all of me, I want my clients to be doing that too.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Which I that's why I think for me, even though I said my consultation fee is very minimal, because a lot of people get free consultations. It's only 30 minutes of your time and it's really just listening, right? There's no action plan. It's really a decision made. And like you said earlier, you have to learn to say no. I've gotten to the point where I've had a consultation with someone and realized I can't work with this client, not because they were difficult or not because they knew it all. It was just because I felt like compatibility is not going to be there, right? They may not be open to the process as much, or their commitment level, because I also asked that, what is your commitment level during your sessions? And they're like, well, I'm really busy, and maybe I can do like 8 o'clock at night. Hello, 8 o'clock at night. Like, I will do that for some occasion, but if you live in the Eastern Standard Time with me, I'm not doing 8 o'clock at night. So saying no and having those boundaries within yourself, within your business, I would say to any coach, put those up front, write them down. And it's okay to let them bend and sway a little bit, change them up if you need to. But I definitely think it's important to have those boundaries, have those guidelines for yourself as to what you will and will not tolerate in your business, because you can become burnt out. For me, like I said, I'm giving, and I was doing some of the free service because I was just starting out, and I wanted to see if I really had it in me to do it. Now that I know that I really do, I can say, all right, you know what? Maybe I won't charge as much here, but I'll charge more during a program. My one-on-ones, if it's just, you're not making a certain monthly commitment, like 3 months on my programs, I won't, those don't cost as much, because you don't really have a real commitment. You may have one thing that maybe you just need a little bit of help trying to get through. Fine. That's a one and done type of things. But then I have the programs, which to me work better because there's set times, there's set guidelines, there's set things that you're going to get from me as your coach and I'm going to get from you as the client. But still gives me that flexibility to be able to do other things. Like I told you, Kelly, earlier, that I thought that I was only going to be working. I put myself in this box of what I thought I should look like as a coach. And God is just like, yeah, no, no, here's what nope, you're going to be doing all these other things, and I'm just like open to it. I'm allowing myself to kind of be free, to explore other areas. I hate when someone tries to put someone else in a box, because we are not one dimensional. We are all multifaceted, and it's just a matter of identifying, or like you said, that thing that comes about you, that spark that just says, ooh, let me try that, because that kind of felt good. Like, how do you know it's going to feel good if you don't ever try it?
That's right. You don't know what you don't know. You only know when you try it.
Right. Absolutely.
That being said, I want to add one thing that
Yeah.
one of the things that I would do differently if I were starting over, like knowing what I know now, is that I was actually doing too much of like following, like, oh, let me try this, let me try that, let me try this thing over here, instead of being like, okay, what are the things that I enjoy the most? Because one of the major struggles for me in building my business was figuring out how to market myself. I value authenticity. I never want to feel like I'm pushy or, like cheesy. Like you see some coaches and I'm like, oh,
Yeah. I want to be my real authentic self, flaws and all, like hair out of place. Like it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay, girl. Be you.
That's
Be
right.
you. Right.
That's right. So, but figuring, like, marketing is a big thing. We don't
It
get into
is.
coaching because we want to market, right? But it's the reality of what we have to do in
Mm-hmm.
order to build a business, because we're not just coaching, we're building a business. And so what I have found is that if I would have honored earlier in my journey, if I would have honored the things that I enjoy the most and I'm the best at. So for me, that's things like live videos, in-person events, doing podcasts, like things that
Right.
are interactive with people.
Right.
That's where I'm best.
Me
So
too.
focus on that. Yeah. And you're great at it. That's why you're
Yeah.
doing all the things you're doing. So focus on that. If you're great at developing social media posts and doing long articles and having email lists, like focus on that, and let that be your main thing. Don't try to do everything, because
Right.
you'll get so scattered, you're not going to see the progress that you'll see if
Right.
you just focus on a few things. So like
Right.
for me, I just said, okay, if it falls in these 3 categories, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say yes even if I'm uncomfortable, as opportunities come,
Right.
and I'm
Right.
okay saying no to the other things in the meantime.
Right.
So I would, within that, have lots of like say yes, like when you and I connected and we're like, let's do this, yes, let's do
Yes.
it,
Right.
like make it
Right.
happen. So say yes in those realms. But if the invitation had come for me in another area, say like somebody said, hey, can you write a really in-depth article, I would be like, you know what, actually that's not a good fit for me right
Right.
now.
Right. Because you have
So
to know your limitations as well. Because I think that what happens if we put ourselves out there in an area that we're not not necessarily comfortable, because we have to push ourselves beyond our comfort zone. But I think if it's not one of our strong suits and we do something, now you have to remind yourself that you're not a failure, right? Because every time that something happens and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm like, can I do it? That is the first thing that comes up. Can I? Is why? What's going on? Like, it's so funny because interviewing, going back into podcasting, I used to do Sirius XM. And I remember I literally was thrown into that, but it was kind of like an 2 hours. We would just go in there and I had co-hosts and we would go in there and we would just do it, right? But then I tried to take my podcast and kind of do the same thing where I had like late night girls talk. It was just when women get together, we just talk about life things. That was flunking so bad. And I was just like, how is it I can go on, do 2 hours and we just flow? Like, we know what we're going to go on and talk about, but everything else just flows. And then here it is. I have conversations all the time with people and I can't get this to go. So I was dealing with, why am I not good enough for this? Why can I not have this come together? And then I understand that I'm a very detailed, anal, organized type of person. I have a spreadsheet for everything. Everybody doesn't work that way. So
Girl, I
she's
need some
like,
of those skills, because I'm the opposite. If you saw my files, you'd probably want to throw up.
really? It's so funny because literally my skin crawls when I see like thousands of unread emails. I literally go crazy. I'm just like, oh my gosh, right? But I was saying that to get back into the person that wants to either be a coach, know that it's okay to, like you said, say no to certain things. No, you don't have to. Some people don't like doing live videos. I personally like a conversation. So for me to just sit there and talk to my computer screen, you're probably not going to see me do that too much. I've done it a few times, but like you said, I've had a few things to say, but a lot of times mine are just in a post. I let people read it, let people receive what they will, or things like that. But I do other things on the backside. So
Know your strength and trust that, and go with it and put everything into those areas. Don't feel like, because there are so many ways you can be pulled, especially with social media. Like, just social media alone, there's so many
yeah,
options.
and I think it's because we compare ourselves to the next
Yes,
person. Like, I
yes,
remember when I started, I was like, I'm not going to go on anybody else's website. I don't want to see what their website looks like. I want to do my own thing.
yeah.
Because I didn't want to compare myself to the next person. I didn't want to see, oh, they have 10,000 likes and I have 2. Know that if you have an important message, put it out there, get it out there. Kelly, really quick, because we're going to be wrapping this up shortly. What would you say to that new coach, that person who either is brand new at it or they want to become a coach? um, on mindset, on boundaries. Well, I think we kind of covered boundaries, so let's not go back there, but more so on the mindset of moving forward in this industry.
Yeah. So mindset is so huge. And, 95% of the decisions we make or don't make are ruled by our subconscious instead of our logical,
Mm-hmm.
front brain. So it's so important that you really get in and that you've done the work on yourself to
Mm-hmm.
know, like, what are the lies or limiting beliefs that you tend to tell yourself about whether you're capable, whether you screw up too much, whether you can do it, whatever it is that your messages are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really get in there and get your own coach and get help getting those messages really changed and strong, because
Correct.
you hear your own voice 24 hours a day. And if that voice is telling you something that isn't supporting you going toward your goal of building a coaching business, then it's really defeating you. It doesn't matter how much success you have, you're going to keep hearing that message. So
Correct.
you've got to really dig in and be willing to do the hard stuff yourself. The things that you would coach other people, it's easier to tell somebody than it is to do it, right? So you've got to do that work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in the same sense, don't be discouraged when sometimes your mindset isn't helping you. It's normal. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
face you're
You're
doing this.
human. You're
Yeah.
human.
And you're
You're not a robot.
you haven't built this kind of a business before. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have days where you're like elated and things are really clicking, and days when you're like, I can't figure it out. And sometimes those
Right.
are seasons,
Right.
and that's okay. But build up a support network. So, like, connect to other coaches. There's lots of great resources online, and definitely invest in your own coach, so that you've got somebody that is in your corner and is going to
Mm-hmm.
challenge you to keep growing.
Absolutely. And I would add to that, um, for every negative, I tell my clients this all the time, for every negative thought, write it down and then counteract that with something else. So every time that negative thought tries to continuously grow inside of you, because really a negative thought is just a seed.
Mm-hmm.
How you water that seed, whether or not you continuously focus on that negative. But the minute you counteract that, it's like that bird came in and plucked that seed about, and it can no longer have room to grow. So I would tell you to definitely counteract that. Write the vision and make it plain. Write things down. I literally have 3 sets of things that I write in. I have my big planner that has every appointment, every date in it, things like that. And then I write down my goals in it as well. So the planner that I have is really awesome because it allows me to write my goals down. So if my goal is to connect with 3 new people, to do an interview or something like that, then I write that down because that's a goal of mine, and it's a small goal, it's achievable. And I would tell you to write down small goals for yourself, for your business. Every step forward is a step forward. No matter if it's 1 or no matter if it's 10, it's still a step forward.
Yeah.
Like Kelly said, don't beat yourself up about the negative things. Find yourself a coach who's willing to work with you. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I got to find a business coach. No, a life coach, a relationship coach, because sometimes you have to figure out the relationships in your life and how to put boundaries on those relationships so that you can fully thrive in your business. So I know that I'm available. I work with other coaches. Kelly, do you work with other coaches as well?
I do work with other coaches for sure.
Awesome. So here right now you have 2 coaches that are available. We will make sure that all of our links and things like that are located in any description box, no matter where we're posting this at. We'll also be sure to say it out loud here as well. Um, this is an awesome business. So I know we've kind of gone over the harder sides because people don't talk about it. People do not share the harder side of coaching. But this is not going to be the first conversation that we have with coaches. Kelly, I would love for you to come back and let's dive a little bit more into what the coaching life really looks like. Everybody's not going to have those $10,000 months. You may have a $100 month. It is still an accomplishment for your business. Just take that, reinvest it, and continue to move forward. So Kelly, if you'd love, I would love to set you back up to come back on again.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. We'll have some key things for you guys. Kelly, I appreciate you being here. Now, this is the time in our show where we like to show up and show out for you as listeners. So what that means is that we're going to go ahead and provide you with all of our contact information, how to reach us directly. So Kelly, go ahead and let the listeners know how they can reach you.
Yeah, I would. If you have any questions that I could help you with, you can definitely catch me on social media. So I have Design Your Detour on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So you can follow me on either of those. I actually do a lot through my personal page on Facebook. So Kelly Abanda, Abanda. It'll be in the notes too, but feel free to send me a friend request and then you'll see all the stuff that I post there. And then if you are more old fashioned, you want to send me an email, you can reach me at hello@designyourdetour.com.
That's
so
awesome.
Happy to connect with people in any of those ways. And when I know that this is going to air, what I'll do too is on my Instagram, I'll have a link tree at the top, and inside the link tree, there'll be something special just for the listeners of the show.
Ooh, I love free.
So, yeah, totally. So
Yes.
I'm going to do something really fun for you guys. So just go to at Design Your Detour on Instagram and click on the link tree in my bio, and there'll be something specific for listeners of the show.
That's
so
awesome.
Go get it.
Come on now. And of course, as always, I like to show up and show out. As well, you can find me on all social media platforms under Shay Owens or Coach Shay Owens. You can go to my website, which is www.coachingbtw.com. If you like to have a segment with us here on the show on Unscripted, go ahead and go to the website, click on interview request, fill out the form, and I'll be in contact with you as well. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to inbox me. You can also contact me via phone at 313-459-5613. Again, Kelly, I appreciate you coming on, taking your time out of your busy day to have conversations that matter here on Unscripted. It's been a pleasure having you on. And don't worry, listeners, I'll have Kelly back for you.